Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Aronoff, and we are going to look into how the microbiome is affected when we are children. So today we are going to focus on how the microbiome can be affected by the lifetime antibiotic use, specifically in preschool children, how the microbiome can be affected by the mode of delivery, and how it plays an essential role in infant development, and talking about how the microbiome can be affected by breast milk. One of the topics that I found that the microbiome can be affected is by the lifetime antibiotic use, specifically in preschool children. Overall, the studies have shown that early antibiotic use is associated with increased risk for metabolic and immunologic diseases and a disrupted microbiome. There is a shift of depletion in actinobacteria, an increase in bacteroidetes and proteobacteria, a decrease in bile salt hydrolase, and an increase in macrolide resistance. Macrolide use in early development can increase the risk for asthma and predisposes weight gain. Penicillins can leave a weaker mark on the microbiota than macrolides. There is a wide variety of markers of how the microbiome can be affected with pharmaceutical prescription drugs. The research conducted in this study was to understand the intestinal microbiota composition with the use of antibiotics in children, focusing on groups with fecal samples obtained by 236 children aged from 2 to 7-year-olds who all attended daycare at the time. The groups were based on antibiotic use. One group had not consumed antibiotics for 2 years and less. The second group are those whose total lifespan antibiotic use was less than 1 course per year on average, with a 7-month span of samples being taken. The pattern figured that regardless of previous antibiotic exposure, the macrolides set the microbiota to a certain state. They also came to a finding that asthma, allergic dermatitis, or parent-reported allergies can belong to the actinobacteria, which is associated with macrolide use. Therefore, this can be strongly affected by antibiotics. Early life antibiotic use is associated with different health outcomes because the use of macrolides can increase asthma and obesity. Macrolides can affect a child's body in quite a few ways if they aren't taken seriously enough. Overall, macrolide use in childhood is associated with long-term distortions in the composition, function, and antibiotic resistance of the intestinal microbiota. The use of penicillin type of antibiotics aren't associated with large microbiome functional or compositional changes in the microbiota. If a child received a full antibiotic course, it can take longer for a full recovery of the microbiota compared to the average interval course being 1.8 to 1.5 courses per year. When antibiotics are used frequently, the microbiota doesn't have enough time to recover, and the antibiotic associated with microbiota composition can continue. Basically, macrolide users alters the microbiota in the way that disrupts the healthy immune system development, which could lead to hyperresponsiveness in susceptible individuals. Macrolide use is associated with microbiota characteristics that are associated with the risk of immunological and metabolic diseases, including obesity. Macrolide use also can increase the resistance of macrolides in the microbiota, overall affecting the development of children. Children are affected by the use of macrolides in a not-so-positive manner, compromising the healthy development of the immune system and metabolism. Another topic that was interesting was that the microbiome can be affected by the mode of delivery. Whether the child is born vaginally or through cesarean section, it can have dramatic effects on how the child's microbiome is formed. The microbiome plays an essential role in overall infant development. From the start of birth, the microbiomes in the gut perform essential duties for the development and activation of the immune system, digestion, and metabolization of food, as well as the neurotransmitters production that affects behavior and cognitive function. Different microbial colonization patterns are associated with vaginal versus surgical birth. Due to the extensive physiological influence, the infant microbial colonization patterns have the potential to impact physical and neurocognitive development, as well as life course disease risk. There are many other factors that can affect the development of the microbiome, but the form of birth plays a huge role. A major contributor to the variation in the infant microbiome is the mode of delivery at birth. Infants who are born vaginally have a similar gut microbiome to their mother's vaginal and fecal flora. This occurs through vertical transfer of the vaginal perineal microbiomes of the mother as the infant goes through the birth canal. Vaginal birth allows for infants to attain greater bacteria than those who are born with cesarean section. This is due to the fact that within the first 6 weeks of development, gut flora gut develops in a healthy manner. Infants who are born by cesarean section are compromised of bacteria in the gut microbiome, transferred through horizontally from the mother's and other skin surfaces. This tends to result in infants not being able to get the microbiomes they need. Being born by cesarean section can have important health consequences because certain bacteria that should be there to protect isn't there, and others have pathogenic potential. Infants who are born by cesarean section have less diversity than those who are born vaginally. This is important because low diversity is linked to disease, IBS, or obesity, while high diversity is linked to many protective factors. The way infants are delivered can have a dramatic impact on the microbiome and later development. Overall, delivery mode is an important factor for the development of a child's microbiome. Surgically delivered infants miss the opportunity to gain the benefits of their mother's vaginal microbiome from the birth canal. Factors that can be affected are the development and activation of the immune system, digestion and metabolization of the food, and the neurotransmitters production, which affects behavior and cognitive function. Vaginal birth is an important factor in the growth of microbiota because without the bacteria from the birth canal, infants can't fully develop the microbiota needed. Infants who are born by cesarean section could be more exposed to antibiotics in utero, which can significantly affect their enteric microflora. There are many factors that can affect the microbiome in a child, however, delivery mode plays an important role in the development of it. The way the microbiome can be affected was found in an article titled Early Microbial Contact, the Breast Milk Microbiome in Child Health. This article talks about how the establishment of microbiome can be affected through cesarean section delivery or early antibiotic exposure, which can later cause immune-mediated and inflammatory conditions such as atopic disorders, IBS, and obesity later in life. The breast milk microbiome has been found to guide infant gut colonization and is also affected by the mode of delivery. There are factors in breast milk which interact with the maternal and infant gut microbiome and mediate health benefits. Breast milk has been known to modulate immune and metabolic programming as well. Being fed breast milk when first born has been shown to improve a baby's overall mental and physical functioning. Breastfed infants harbor an intestinal microbiome dominated by actinobacteria and particularly biofidobacteria, while the gut microbiome in formula-fed infants is more diverse and resembles that of older children. Breast milk provides energy in the form of indigestible oligosaccharides that can be utilized by intestinal microbiomes. Biofidobacteria is considered to be a good or health-promoting bacteria and has been associated with reduced risk for both allergic disease and excessive weight gain. When an infant is delivered by cesarean section, it results in aberrant infant gut colonization and immune development, and is associated with increased risk of obesity and chronic immune-mediated disease later in childhood. However, breast milk from mothers who had undergone cesarean section delivery exhibited a higher microbial diversity but reduced frequency of biofidobacteria. It is unknown whether the reduced biofidobacterium content in breast milk contributes to the decreased colonization by biofidobacteria observed in infants born by cesarean section. Overall, breast milk provides an array of immune factors which provide protection against infectious diseases during the vulnerable first months of life. The impact of cesarean section delivery on the risk of developing immune-mediated and inflammatory conditions are highly prominent. Early antibiotic exposure has been shown to have detrimental long-term consequences after birth. The beneficial effects of breastfeeding are well known but further complemented with regard to both scope and mechanism by the discovery of breast milk microbiome and its connections with immune factors in breast milk. Overall, breast milk is a great factor for the microbiome to have while infants grow. While the microbiome can be affected in many ways when it comes to how children are born, to what they are fed, and how their health is taken care of. Learning that early life antibiotic use is associated with increased risk for metabolic and immunologic diseases and a disrupted microbiome. Macrolide use in childhood is associated with long-term distortions in the composition, function, and antibiotic resistance of the intestinal microbiota. Learning whether a child born vaginally or through cesarean section can have dramatic effects on how the child's microbiome is formed, as well as to the extensive physiological influence the infant microbial colonization patterns have the potential to impact physical and neurocognitive development, as well as life course disease risk. We also learned that vaginal birth allows for infants to attain greater bacteria than those who are born with cesarean section. Infants who are born by cesarean section are compromised of bacteria in the gut microbiome. Infants who are born by cesarean section have less diversity than those who are born vaginally. The establishment of the microbiome can be affected through cesarean section delivery or early antibiotic exposure, which can later cause immune-mediated and inflammatory conditions. The breast milk microbiome has been found to guide infant gut colonization and is also affected by the mode of delivery. Breast milk has been shown to modulate immune and metabolic programming. Overall, being born vaginally, avoiding antibiotics if possible, and consuming breast milk while an infant is an important factor for children. While these positive influences infants can be led to the possibility of getting an immunologic disease, the microbiome can be vastly affected when it comes to children and how they are brought up from birth to childhood. Thank you for learning with me today about the microbiome and how children can be affected. I hope that this has helped and hopefully you learned something new. Thanks for listening.